Alright, a couple of months ago it was my 90th and all 15 members of the family came from far and wide, and we celebrated by going kart racing. I came last, which was to be expected. The steering on those karts is so heavy, unbelievably heavy. So over the end of an hour I was at my limits. Still, never mind, it was a good day and everybody had fun. But I had two presents from U-Gears puzzles. One up from Jigsaw Puzzles, I suppose. But if you haven't come across U-Gears, they're made of wood, 3mm ply, and they come in flat sheets. Laser cut, you press the pieces out and you fit them together. You need pretty strong fingers to make some of the joints go together properly, but yeah, not too bad. And the first one was a marble machine. Right. And this is the marble machine. Looks impressive. But I've got reservations. It seems to work well enough. For instance, if that trips this one, and if I drop another one in, that trips the next one, and similarly the third one goes down a different route, which is very good. And you've got a handle here, and as you turn the handle, so it picks the ball up, drops it, and it's ready to go up the ladder. If I turn that slightly, and it's ready to go up this. As you turn the handle, this one winds up, and that one goes on the floor. Right, okay. So, next one comes up. That's fair enough, that goes up the ladder, and that one goes on the floor. And the reason, you're meant to buy another model, which clicks onto there. In fact, all this stuff here has nothing to do with this model. It's for another one. So, it's not a standalone job, and it does have faults. The first one being, there's a pinion in here that swivels, and unfortunately it doesn't have a cap on the end, and it's rather prone to falling out, and then the whole thing falls to bits. Now if I just... Now this was the second present. Now this is U-Gears, supposedly the most difficult puzzle in the world. It certainly was hard to put together, but the joints were so difficult to press to fit. Certainly finger pressure was nowhere near enough. I had to use clamps, hammer and a block on occasion, but eventually I got it together. Now this is their Skywatcher. It's actually a triaxial tourbillon on the top there, which is a rotating system for the escapement, and it's done in the punk fashion, steampunk fashion. very clever design. The only thing is, it doesn't go. Now, if you look on YouTube, you'll find lots of them going. It does have a proper metal spring, but for some reason it doesn't want to go. If I give it a kick, 3 ticks that time. Only 3 that time as well. And as you can see, it rotates. Now the best I've had out of this is 13 ticks, but it never actually goes, which is disappointing. And the trouble is, being wood, you can't pull it to bits to find out where it's dragging. Very disappointing from that point of view. However, if I put the brake on there so that it won't turn, I can pull out the holders here, like so. And now the tourbillon is supposed to lift out. It seemed to have got stuck, but as you can see, the whole triaxial tourbillon, gyro tourbillon, or whatever you want to call it, comes out, and you can actually get in to see what's going on. But that's about your limit. One of the problems is that the prong that sticks inside the Y thing that goes backwards and forwards, just like the one in my last video, it's got to be right in the middle, and you can't actually see what you're doing. This is the escapement here, the back of it, and you can't actually see to get that thing in the centre. And you have a lever which controls the spring, the position of it. It's on the underside in here at the moment, this one, and it keeps on moving because it's so loose. So that can take it out of the centre, which doesn't help. And it has a little simple wooden peg, and the gear drops into this planet gear here, and I rather suspect that somewhere along the line it's a bit stiff and it doesn't work. I've spent hours on it trying to get it to go, but I'm afraid I'm not one of those who's able to make it work, and I'm not going to spend any more time on it. Well, the tourbillon, that interested me, and I thought it'd be rather nice if I could make one with possibly a clock in brass. It would look very nice, and I've got a nice glass dome that it would fit as well. So they're a bit complex, these triaxial ones, so I thought what I'd do is I'd go for a simple one to start with, and in the 3D printed ones, there are plenty of them on Thingiverse, and so I got one, and this is it. I made it. Don't work, of course. These things are, I can display it somehow. There we are. And this is a slightly better view. You can see how it so nearly goes. But it does demonstrate how a tourbillon works as it moves round. Yeah, so near, so disappointing. Anyway, I thought, well, I'll make another one. And as you can see, I've got a tray full of bits. And this gold one, it was there. Looked all right, very pretty. The maker, he was obviously proud of it because he's actually got his initials on it. I should have read the comments underneath because some of them were pretty derogatory about it. Because what happened was, although it looked okay and it was working in the videos, what it didn't do was allow clearance. So when you had a plug like this, it didn't fit the socket. It didn't allow any clearance. Well, a lot of filing and fiddling, and I got it together, but it was such a mess afterwards. Well, since then, another chap, he's reworked it, and I thought, well, I'll try it, because his looks that bit more interesting, because he's used set screws and nuts and bolts, if you like, and steel pins to go through for the bearings. Well, those are the bits. It's supposed to be the same design, but I haven't got around to putting it together yet. It's a bit sort of disheartening when you get so many of these things that don't quite work. So if I can get it to go, yeah, well, we'll see. So what else am I doing? Well, as you can see, I'm back in the workshop, and this is my John Wilding clock back in again. The problem with the John Wilding clock is getting it into beat exactly. And I found that mine will go for 3 or 4 days and stop if it's not quite dead on in beat. It seems to be particularly critical. Well, at the moment, it's perfectly in beat. Unfortunately, as you can see, I've got a wedge. And what I've done is I've slowly pushed the wedge in while the pendulum is swinging until it's perfectly in beat. I'll just stop that a minute and take it off. To get it into beat, if I just stop this swinging about, it's this crook here. If I can zoom in on that a bit. the position of this angle in this crook is how you set the beat. That is a 10 BA screw, minute, and when you do it up, when you think you've got it right, you do it up and it slips slightly, just enough to make it go out a beat. So what I've been doing is I've been using shims underneath the stand until it is more or less in beat. Unfortunately, you can never find shims the right size. So if I can, I've got a spirit level there which shows how much out of line it is, because the bench is flat. It's should be dead on, so it's quite a tip. So what I've done, if I take the wedge out and if I tip it up, these feet are now adjustable. I can unscrew them. If I take one out, it's quite long, I've got plenty of adjustment. What I've done is I've just soldered in an M4 set screw in there, or countersunk screw, into the old base, and in the bottom of the wood there is just a tube threaded piece of brass rod, and it just screws in like so. When it goes on the shelf, I should be able to just turn those a little bit and hopefully get it into beat properly. This is what it should be like, really. If I can bring this one up close enough, perhaps if I show it against something else. There we are. It's a crook from an old clock, and you just turn the screw and that moves it exactly along the line, and you can get it perfectly in beat without any trouble at all. Shame. Anyway, that was made a long time ago. I'm in my favourite chair in my favourite room, where if I'm not careful I'll nod off to sleep. However, the purpose of this is to show you this photograph. Right, it's a De Winton coffee pot, called a coffee pot because of the shape obviously. And it was the George Henry, made by the De Winton company. And I made that one a good few years ago now. And the reason I made it, I'd just finished my first narrow gauge engine, and I was looking around to make another one when we had a visitor to the club who brought along a little 5-inch model. And that intrigued me, and it pulled so well, and I thought I'd make an ideal quick one to build for 7 1/4. So I discussed it with a friend who was going up to Wales, and this is pre-digital camera times, mind you. He took his camera and he managed to get some photographs in the museum where the engine was tucked away somewhere in the corner. And brought them back, and with a leaflet which gave me all the dimensions. So I set about making it. Anyway, it was a success, it went well, pulled well and all the rest of it. But the thing was, afterwards I put together all the drawings and photographs and so on in a book form, A4 book form, and I did a print run and sold them online. They didn't exactly go like hotcakes. Several years before I'd sold out all the lot, but that's it, and they've been on the shelf ever since. So when I'm gone, no doubt what will happen to them is end up in the archives of the Bristol Club, where probably nobody will ever look at them again. So I decided that since I don't need the money anymore, why not put them online so that anybody can have the drawings, and if they fancy making one, they can have all the drawings and necessary information. Great. What a palaver. It's not easy to do that. First of all, I've got to set up a website. That's the first time I've set up a website. So I've had to learn how to do all that, and it's taken time. I've bought my domain name, and it's registered, and it's all going together slowly, and I'm learning how to put it together. So when it's finished, I will put it online. So at the moment, while I'm filming this, I am still at the learning stage. But when it does come up, it will be called, believe it or not, coffeepotengine.com. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching.